Greetings and welcome to the Grandmaster Chess Academy Game of the Day. This is a new series I'll be doing to practice my positional analysis and teaching skills. Also, this will serve as a track record of achievements, as I am a USCF Class C 1448 ELO rated player. I wanted to show and prove that a class player can play strong chess with practice, with no apologies to Ken Reagan. I'm being somewhat facetious. I read the article by Howard Godowski in Chess Life. I think it's the June issue, maybe July. And I don't always, it's a great article and his science is interesting, but I don't always agree that players can't find strong moves that would match strong computer moves, because some of my students will play me games and they'll find strong move after strong move after strong move, and it's an 83 move draw. And then the next game we'll play and I'll crush him in 17 moves, and the game after that I'll crush him in 28 moves, and the game after that I'll crush him in 23 moves. So there's a definite inconsistency going on, but the idea that a player can't find a lot of good moves is not too reasonable. And again, the more they practice, the more those strong moves they will find. So, okay, this is a Blitz game at 5-minute, 15-second increment in time control. The game's Sicilian defense, a 4 knights exchange variation, which you wonder what that is. Well, I looked my game up in Chess Games and Chess Tempo, and by move 6 I can only find 3 games in their databases, which is, I don't know, got to be somewhere in the many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of games. Couldn't find anyone who was playing this. Had to go all the way back to 1915, a game that ended up being a draw, Western States Championships. And even there, they didn't go through my continuations. So this is a rather unique game. But let's go ahead and get started. As I said, we have a Sicilian. And now we have our 4 knights. And here's that move I was talking about, move 6, bishop to g5. Now, knight on d to b5, knight takes c6, or bishop to e2 or bishop to e3 are your standard moves. You find thousands and thousands and thousands of games along those routes. But, you know, perhaps the strongest continuation is simple little a3. It gets a lot of work done, especially in the preservation of the c3 knight, maintenance of pawn structures, elimination of unnecessary pins. Just all around useful. But of course I went with my own unique ways of setting up the very pins that I'm trying to make sure I don't have to suffer from. And you know, makes for unique chess. And when you play the unique game, then your opponents won't necessarily be expecting it. My goal in chess is to stay away from opening theory, understand it, but then move out of it so that we're just forced to play across the board. Then it just becomes strategy against strategy, tactics against tactics. And then I find that you have a much better chance against humans and computers. Alright, so moving on into the game. Nice simple blocking move, opens up the back rank, gets prepared for castling while, of course, eliminating the unnecessary pin. And here I decided to take, which I call it the exchange variation for. course, you typically would expect a B to C6, but this is Blitz chess, and things can be exciting and different. So I decided to say, okay, let's do this.
Check.
And of course, to preserve the castling option, you take with the bishop. And now I'm seizing up some square control. Now we have the dark square question. Do we want to maintain our strength? Of course, I don't want to set up shop on F5 or F4, bishop to F4, so you know, blocking up my pawns is just unnecessary play, wasted movements, and I can easily be kicked. So no, we're not going to throw away a bunch of tempos, and of course we'll just take, because this eliminates the castling option. Now, does this give white a nice sexy castling option with check? It does, but it gives up to tempi on F2, which comes under attack. And then I also have the rooks that are waiting for a nice fork and all kinds of other problems. So, you know, just
check.
Not the best of ideas. Such ideas as this. And this, you know, must be dealt with. So now I got to step up. And it's not horrible, but, you know, now there's a clear advantage in black's position. Black's got a free pawn. And all of this is just, you know, poor calculation. So stick with the good calculations, and make sure you do actually see what the position is talking about before you make your move. I have a poem and a rhyme about this. I'll share with you another time, I suppose. But I wrote it for my students so they would get a better understanding of how to understand what the position is telling them, and look for right ideas and continuations. Alright, so the castle is no bueno. Let's go ahead and protect my pawn. And here we have a bishop move. Here, the computer was actually calling for king to e2. I don't know, I guess it wouldn't be to go for the long diagonal, but I wanted to put my bishop to work. I knew that f5 would be under contention eventually, and having my bishop on d3 handling c2 would allow me to go ahead and fix anything on the queen side, so I can go ahead and concentrate and focus on such ideas as attacking weaknesses on the king side. Of course, we are now establishing who's got what where. Got the bishops. Dark square control is important, so my pawns are holding down some very good and tasty dark squares. Silicon beast the same for knight to e3, but decided to go for king to e2 instead. Here I decided to, king to c7, I decided to go for king to e2, controlling that e3 square, eliminating any weaknesses in my territory, and allowing myself to start setting up for pushing movement activity. Knight definitely looking for a better square. Rooks need to make sense, control the files they need to control, what are the best files, those kinds of ideas. And you know, there we go. Rook's starting to go ahead and start seizing files. Either rook, this is an either way. I don't think this is a Bobby Fischer wrong rook scenario. I could have kicked first and then used the h rook, but you know, wanted to go with this. So shoring up, I don't know if I'm a big fan of that move, but now we both have the clear weakness. His, or Ling-Fong's being D6, mine being F4, but I think that the D6 weakness will be easier to exploit than my F4 weakness, but you know, let's see how the game progresses. So we have a nice simple kicking move, and now White's able to take over the 7th rank and squarely plant a rook in there and hold on to it. Not a very good move by Ling-Fong. Black could have probably made a better development move with the rook. So I went ahead and doubled up, knowing that the G8 square is well controlled. So is F7. Can't really hold E8 because the bishop controls, E7 because the bishop controls the E8 square with the rook back up. So there's always a three-way hit in every direction to shut down any activity. I saw this during the game. Was wondering what I was going to be able to do with it, but I still knew that a rook on the 7th rank was a good idea. Such a good idea that the computer decided to get out of the pin immediately. A little bit of queen side maneuvering. Not really what the position's calling for, obviously. There are issues on the king side that have to be dealt with, issues in the center that must be dealt with. I suppose this sort of kind of deals with them, but too easy to deal with. Not my strongest continuation, but strong enough for a winning position. Not a one game, but a winning position. And with knight maneuvers in the air, plenty to go for. Now here, you have your ideas of just busting up the queen side, opening things up. I got a rook that I can swing back if necessary. And I didn't see this during the game. This is super GM thinking. Depth 23 and higher, super GM thinking. But hey, I'm learning, I'm growing. Definitely, having gone through the position, saw some of the ideas we're talking about. But you know, it's not the way I carried my game, so I just closed it down. Decided, okay, no one of these pawns are moving anywhere in a meaningful fashion, and to move the A pawn for black pieces only makes life harder. Probably ain't trying to do that. Now this move right here is just blunderful. It's a bad move. Gives up tempies for no good reason. Secures the 7th rank for the white pieces. So I harassed. Black overshot the position again. Here, this A4 is called for some more. I wasn't thinking that way. I said, okay, now is the time. Now I can make breaks, sit comfortably on with my knight on C5. No haps, huh? Well, then I'll just dig into it, and everything sits static, and I can still reposition my knight to a nice C5 square eventually. And so the position starts to move. I get to attack on the weakness on D6, create batteries against it. Game is definitely white's game. And black doesn't really have any moves. So here all I have to do is say rook 1 to G5, and I have a commanding win. It's over. All but the screaming. But I flushed the position out.
Check.
And although I still have a winning advantage, I have a long way to go now of hard work ahead of me. Tough endgame right here. But this is what loses it. Although we have the same colored bishops, my king is advanced. And it's all over from here. What they say, nothing but technique. And you can see, thank you for joining us.